Hi, my name's Chloe, and today I'm going to walk through how columns work in Paradigm. So in Paradigm, each column is a prompt that executes across every row within the sheet. So instead of having to ask prompt over and over again for a number of different data points within a chat, you can just do so in Paradigm by creating a column and running that across thousands of data points at once. So let's look at how this actually works by examining this restaurant equity intelligence sheet. So this sheet is specifically looking at a number of different, in this case it's brand name, pretty straightforward. But let's say we have a column type that is maybe a bit more specific, or we want to just do some extra configuration. We can test this by creating another column. Let's call it consumer sentiment. And the first thing I might go and do is change the data type. So let's actually make it a select type. You'll see that I got a suggestion to have it be a text type. I want it to be select, so I'll just reject that. And now I can go into options and add my different selections. So let's do neutral, positive, and negative. What I can also do to add more flair is change neutral to maybe gray. Let's do positive as green and negative as red. What I can also go in and do for this one is actually add a prompt. So let's say select consumer sentiment type based on press releases, online forums, and reviews. And now I can go ahead and enrich this column. You'll notice the only configurations I didn't add to this column are context scope and restrict sources. So let's see how those work in a column that's actually already been created in this sheet and enriched. Let's look at current price. So if I click into this column, you can see that the prompt here was actually a source ordering. So we had certain sources we wanted to be ranked and looked at before other sources. But let's say we actually want to go in and make the restriction of sources very concrete. I can do this by clicking our restrict sources configuration and actually adding the sources you see in the prompt. So I'll add Polygon, I'll add Bloomberg, I'll add Yahoo Finance, and I'll add NASDAQ. And I'll go ahead and delete this prompt. What I can also do is restrict context scope. So unlike restrict sources, which restricts what the agents will look like outside of the sheet, context scope restricts what the agents can look at within the sheet itself. So right now, and typically, columns are always set to all, so you're looking at everything within the sheet. But for something like current price, I probably only need the ticker to know what context is relevant for the agent. So I'll go ahead and click that. I'll delete the current data that we have in the column, and I'll enrich based off of the new scope that we have added to this column sheet. So as this is enriching, what we can also do is evaluate how you can actually see whether or not your prompt was effective and why or why not by simply clicking into each of the cells that have been enriched. So in the case of our brand name prompt, where the only thing we added was the brand name title, you can see that each agent was pretty effective in just going in and finding the brand name and did so very well. We can also look at the customer sentiment prompts and click in and see why did it rank it as negative. So you see that it did what we asked. It looked at press releases, it looked at reporting on company menu, it looked at online customer forums and reviews, and it came to this negative consumer sentiment. And then as current price is going, we can also just look at the sources and see, okay, it restricted based on some of the sources we listed. So this one looked at Yahoo Finance, this one also looked at Yahoo Finance, also looked at Yahoo Finance, and so on and so forth. So that is it for columns at Paradigm, and now that you have an understanding of that, the next step would be to look at chat and how chat can help you configure your sheets even more.